We live in an expanding, evolving universe. And as part of that, we are expanding and evolving in our consciousness. The history of humanity is really the history of the evolution of our consciousness. And we understand that to mean evolving our consciousness, to see the connectedness that we all share, to see what we all have in common. And that's a perspective that actually comes from the heart rather than from the head.
I realise that what we've actually done is we've come to spend far too much time in our thinking and our thoughts and very little time in our heart. And I know that might sound a little bit airy-fairy, however, you know, when we have understanding of the organs within our body, we will also know at a thinking level that you have neurons in your head, you have neurons in your heart, and you have neurons in your stomach. They all work independently of each other. So when we begin to start listening to our heart, that is, some call it intuition, some call it truth. We know exactly what to do, always.
It appears that at almost every level of human experience, for millenniums, we lost our way. Probably started with the book burnings, with the murder of the scholars, with the destruction of Alexandria. We fell into a period of human darkness where might makes right. And so you begin to see it not only in communities and nations, you see it with military, you see it with political advantages of financial strength that creates a stronghold on the people.
This is what material things don't bring you. This baseline of joy that lives deep within each and every one of us that has nothing to do with the accumulation of anything. It's actually something that comes from deep inside ourselves. And unless we start accumulating what's within us rather than what's outside of us, we'll never ever have true happiness.
If you've ever wanted to know how to move through life, then the answer is clear. Why don't you choose it? Why don't you continue to tap into your own intuition? Why don't you trust yourself to know that you have all the answers, to know what is the next thing to do? Because we don't want to be that spontaneous. We don't really want to be that free. We prefer to live in a prison, in a vacuum. So if you actually knew your truth, which you do of course, you've just suppressed it. If you allowed yourself to tap into that truth, what would you be doing now? What would you be doing right now?
We can have the world that we dream about. We can have the world that we hardly even want to imagine, because when we begin to imagine the world that we would like to see and be a part of, it brings not only tears to our eyes, we get choked up in the throat over it, because we are mainly still blocked within ourselves. We don't have that sense in life where all of life is flowing, where the juices of life are flowing in us and in everyone around us.
Start to look at where we are as people and start to go out there and reconnect. Reconnect with the sea. I do this as I need to reconnect with that ocean or the river. Just how important that I'm a part of this cycle, and see myself as a part of that living entity that our sea, our rivers, our lakes, our mountains, our sky. Because the old people taught us that what's in the heavens is reflected on earth, and that we must see ourselves as a part of it. Yes, we can be a part of using the resources from the earth, but as long as we don't destroy it or harm the children of that area, land that we come from. So it's honouring, like we'd honour ourselves or our parents or our grandparents. It's about honouring who we are and how we see ourselves as a part of the whole system.
A lot of us have a yearning to be better, to be more, to help people. And it's those people who are lifting the consciousness of the planet and by doing so changing how humanity works.
Humanity is at the most exciting time in the history of our planet.
We come from a culture that we were taught the unseen world. We're too frightened, we want to master it, and it's out there. We haven't learnt to hear it. And the old people say, you learn to see, you learn to hear. You don't need to ask the questions.